Hey guys, it's Kathy, and I am going to make another pocket video, but this one is a little bit different. This one I saw Tina from Shabby Dabby Doodah do it, and I think it was her week 229 video. She's going through her, I guess, ephemera and pocket making videos. She did the first 100 and then she repeated those, and now she's repeating them again. So this is the one I saw in week 229, but I'm going to do mine just a little bit different than she does, because I like to take the easy way out when I can. And to me, what I've got is, these are just old W2 envelopes that I had left over from doing W2s a few years ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two envelopes together, and I'm going to use the flaps because I'm not going to use my windows or anything. I'm not worried about where they are. My main concern is making sure that I get these attached here, and then, actually I've got that wrong. I wanted to turn it over. A lot of people will take this flap and put it inside the envelope, and that ensures that you get that real good crease. But I don't like hassling with trying to get this inside, especially when it has extra strong tape on it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to attach this flap to this envelope and this flap to this envelope, and then I'm going to have my two envelopes attached together, and my crease, I have to be real careful not to get over that crease. So what I do is I make sure they fold up well, and then I hold it in place, and then I can just fold it over, and I can make sure that they're lined up well. Okay, so, and my envelopes that I'm using are actually 8 3/4 by 5 3/4, but I'm going to end up cutting them down so that it'll line up with my 8.5 by 5.5 inch pages. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull off that tape backing, and this is so much easier for me, and I'm just going to run a bead of glue right down that inside edge that makes the pocket. I'm just going to go right here and around. Okay, so that gets my two envelopes attached together. Then I have this one, and I'm basically going to do the same thing and just glue it down. And I'm just going to catch that edge that's going to form my pocket. It's going to close this envelope up. And Tina had envelopes that had a different shape. Hers were the normal, I'd say standard envelope shape with the V front. And you can do it with those also, but you have to be really careful about where you put your glue. So there we are. Now it'll fold up. And usually I don't like to fold it until after that glue has all dried. And especially when I have my designer paper on there, I don't want to fold it before that glue dries. And then this will be sewn into the signature here. So And then we're going to have 2 pockets on these sides. We're going to have a pocket here and a pocket here. But first, I remember that my envelope is actually 8 3/4, but my pages are 8 1/2 inches tall. So I'm going to cut off that extra 1/4 of an inch. And it doesn't have to be exact unless you just absolutely feel the need for it to be exact. Okay, so now what I've done is I've opened up that top. But I don't want the tops opened. I could leave it this way and make it a 2 top loading pockets. I could do that. But I want mine to load from the side because I want to put lace down my card and, you know, make it fancy coming out the edge, the open edge. So what I'm going to do is, with my paper that I choose to cover this with, and you can collage on it, you can use whatever paper you want to use. Today I am not especially feeling the whole collage thing. So what I'm going to do is just use some scrapbook paper. And I do this all the time, just using the scrapbook paper. I have lots of it. So I'm on a mission to try to use some of it. Okay, so I'm just going to cover the whole thing, edge to edge. And the reason that I'm not extremely concerned about these edges is because those edges are going to get cut in the end. The edge that I am concerned about is this top edge. I want to reclose it. So when I put my paper on, I'm going to leave, when I cut my paper, I'm going to cut around there and I'm going to leave about 1 inch up here so that I can fold it over, and then it will reform my pocket without having to glue inside the pocket and take up real estate. It'll fold over and it will reclose the pocket edge. So I want to make sure that I have my paper going in the direction I want it to go. And I think I want it to go this way. I think these are supposed to be like little hearts. So we're going to go this way with our paper. I'm going to flip it over so my top is still up here and my open part of my envelope is going to be up there. So I'm just going to glue this one on. And I'm not worried about cutting my sides of my envelope until after I get my paper on, and I'll just cut it all at the same time. So here again, I'm just using a wet white glue, but this will show you where I have to wait a little bit because a glue stick would dry a lot faster. But I've talked about before, I don't know what it is, if it's just in my house or what it is. The glue sticks just don't work for me. So I put my wet glue in a sponge applicator and here I go. I want to be sure to get that edge well. Okay. Now, my cut edge is at the top. And here we go. And like I said, I am most concerned about the top and the bottom lining up well, because the sides are going to get cut. Okay. Now press that glue in good. And get that glue up so I don't have my arm in it. I'm the one that puts her sleeve in the gravy. Yup. Sip of coffee for motivation. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this out. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this side now. Just cutting the scrapbook paper away. It really doesn't matter if you cut into your envelope here. It'll be okay. But this one, this is where I want to leave a little edge to fold over. And it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be there. And then I'm just gonna make those corners so they won't be seen from the other side. And then we have some scraps. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, and see my wet glue does curl up a little bit, but once it gets dry it'll be fine. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this edge over, and what that edge is going to do is it's going to seal my pocket back up, but it's going to leave all my real estate inside. I'm going to be able to put my journaling card all the way to the edge of the pocket. And here again, I'll just show you, it's about 8.5 inches tall. So that's the next thing. I'm going to just glue this one on. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be glued. But this edge is a little bit more important than the other ones, the top and bottom edges, because at the very end, your sides are going to get cut. Okay. So basically, now we're just going to cover this side. And like I said, if you want a collage on it, if you want to do anything, this side is good to go. This edge is already closed, so you don't have to fold anything over. And this is how we look on this side. And you see what I'm talking about. This edge is showing because I didn't get it lined up just exactly right. I'm going to chop that off anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, now let's go ahead and make sure that we have our paper upright still, and we do. So I'm just going to flip it over, and this is because I'm using directional paper. Now this paper does not look directional to me, so I'm just going to find which way I want it and go for it. So here we go again. And you can glue your envelopes to your paper, or you can glue your paper to your envelopes. It doesn't matter. Just however you need to do it to get it lined up best. And probably for me, it's gluing the paper to the envelope, and I'll show you what I mean about that. You saw how I did it a minute ago, where I took the envelope to the paper, that I had the paper laid out. This time I'm going to take the paper to the envelope, because I might be able to line it up just a little bit better. Yeah, I might be using entirely too much glue, but that's okay. Okay, I know that if I had directional paper, I know that is still my top, because that's the one that's folded over. Now, I'm taking my paper to my envelope. And this really doesn't matter. It just depends on which way you're comfortable with it. And again, I'm most concerned with my top and bottom. Of course, we know ink fixes anything, right? Right. And here I come with my dryer sheet again. And I did get just the tiniest little bit off on the bottom there, but you know, my envelope could be a little crooked. My eye could be a little crooked. Okay, now I'm going to really press that glue out. Make sure it's everywhere and smooth. Okay. Wipe up any excess. And this time, we're going to cut right at the edge of the envelope, but we're going to be careful not to cut that top back open. But we don't want a lot of excess hanging over. And if you're collaging and you feel better about just rolling some paper over the edge, that is fine. Or if you want to roll it from the front to the back and the back to the front, whichever. Or something even better to do that I just figured out would be to cut your first paper in exactly and then roll your second paper over. It's gonna leave, it'll leave a pattern on the top of your one side, but it all depends on what you want, how you want it to look. And I did pretty good about that, and I'm gonna ink these edges anyway, so yeah. Okay, now to make our pockets. Right now what we have is we have these two envelopes sealed up on all sides. So we need to open our side pockets. And for that, I'm just going to come over here and we're going to accomplish two things with this little cut right here. We are going to shorten our pockets so that they fit inside our signature, because remember this was 8 3/4 inches. So I need it to be shorter so that it'll, or no, I'm sorry, this was not 8 3/4. This was 11 3/4. So I'm going to make it a little shorter so that it will fit into my signature and not hang out over the pages. So I'm just going to cut a little off on that side, and I know my edge is right here. So I'm just going to cut a little off on that side, and what I'm going to do is set this aside until it dries well. Then when it gets dry, I did one earlier in hopes that it would be dry enough to work with. Then when it gets dry, see, I've got this one, I'm going to find that fold and fold it over. So there we are, and then this will sew into the signature, and see, by leaving it to dry it makes a less of a bulging crease in there. So yeah. And it does have a little bit of wrinkle to it, but remember, it is going to be in a signature, and it's going to have lace hanging out the side of it. And if this pattern on the inside bothers you, by all means, go in there and cover it, ink it, do whatever you want to it. If you need to, if you want to put thumb notches in, put thumb notches in. But yeah, this is just a really sweet little big envelope. So there we go. And now for the last one, I think I will do one where it's open at the top, and I might try to show you a little different trick on that one. and I can show you the other. Yeah, I'm not going to show you the. Go watch Tina's week 229 video, and she does a good job of putting it. This, I know that this tape is very, very sticky. So when I go in to try to put it in there, yeah, it just doesn't work out well for me. The one thing I could do, I suppose, now look, I got both of them in there. One thing I could do, I suppose, is try to reach in there and take that tape off, but I can't have them both in there at the same time. So, let's just see if I can do it. But I'm still going to need to glue that back edge of the pocket shut. Okay, let's see how that did. I'm still going to need to, I can glue that shut when I do my paper. But the only difference I see on this is that these flaps are going to be inside the pocket now, so there is the potential for things to stick on them. So I think yeah, and I'm not going to be able to do anything about that one. See, the inside flap is right there. So I think I'm going to continue putting my flaps on the outside. And it probably works a lot better if you have envelopes that you're just putting glue onto and don't have this super sticky tape. Okay, so now we have our envelope and it folds, and this will get closed up when we put our paper on there. And this one I think I am going to make top loading. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut the top off. And I remember that that needs to be 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch and cut the top off. And then I'm just going to start gluing paper on. And I'm going to remember that this is my top. Okay, see, here's where it is. See if I can get up under there with a line of glue. Gonna try so that my inserts don't get stuck so much. Hoping that my glue is working. It's always an issue when you can't see it. Okay, now go in there because I don't want this side of the pocket to get glued down. Okay, so we're going to hope that that rectified that situation. Sorry, I know I just got my head in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is glue my, see, yeah, I really like putting those on the outside because then I don't have to worry about this. But I'm just not going to put glue on that little, I'm going to try not to put glue on that little section right there. I'm going to come down here and put my glue along that edge. Then I can put my glue and you don't lose a whole lot of real estate in that pocket if that bothers you. Just put the glue on there and close it on up and don't think another thing about it. Got your journal card to fit and boom, it's done. Okay. Now on this one, my sides are a little bit more important because they're going to remain as they are. The one thing is with this one that I don't have to worry as much about my top. But I think, going to fold that paper over to give it a nicer appearance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along this side, remembering that it is going to remain open. I'm going to cut my scrap off first, and I am leaving that little extra across the top because I'm gonna finish my envelope top with that. So now this one is important. It needs to not get cut open because this is going to be a top loading pocket. I feel like I'm in slow motion with my scissors today, but that's all right. Okay, and in order for that to fold into that pocket, I am going to make my angle cuts there and there. And because this is sealed in the middle now, I'm going to have to come in and make my angle cuts. To the center. There. And there. Just cutting that V out down to the envelope. Okay, now let us see if this will work. Okay, now paying attention to my fold, I see that it's coming over just a little bit right there, and I don't need that. I want that taken out, so I'm going to cut a little bit more off of this side. And I am being picky, but I don't want that to buckle right there. So, there we go. Now, when I do this flap, it's going to fit all the way inside the pocket. Maybe. Nope, that one wants to buckle also, so we'll fix it. Make it come a little bit farther over to that corner. And if it comes over a little too far on the other side, then we can ink it. And this is a little more fiddly. I will go with you on that. But it's going to strengthen the top of my pocket if I can get it to lay down. Okay. And this one. And this is a little bit more difficult because I'm working with a little bit heavier scrapbooking paper. So there we go. Now, that's how I want to do them, and I'm wondering if, yep, I think I need to glue them down. Some people would just leave them folded in and they'll be fine, but I think I'm gonna glue them down. And because I already have them trained, theory is it should be easier to get them glued down. We'll see. We're gonna see right now. There we go. What did I say about having them trained? It's okay. It's just paper. And I am the boss of it. Did y'all ever babysit and have a kid tell you, "You're not the boss of me"? I did. Okay, there we go. And now there's a little bit, I should have folded this a little bit better, but it is okay. By the time it gets a lacy journal card in there, and that's going to be sewn into the center of the signature anyway, you'll probably never even see that. Okay, so now it's time for the other side and to do the exact same thing. And let's see, that looks like it's an okay direction. So let's put some glue on here. And see, this time I don't have to worry about that edge because my pocket flap's on the outside. So I think I will adopt that process, putting my pocket flaps on the outside. Okay, and this is the top with my folded over edges. And there's my bottom and up my side. Everything looks like it's matching well. Okay. And see right down here, that's what I was talking about. I can ink that right up and no problems. Okay, I'm really gonna smush that glue out now. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut. I'm going to leave my inch or whatever right here. And if you make it shorter, it might be easier to fold in. The best thing to get it to fold in well is to go ahead and train it though. Show it where you want it to go before you get your glue on. And now this one, we're going to do the same thing down the side. We're going to trim that off without cutting into that envelope pocket. And there we are. Now there's a couple little scraps. And again, we're going to do the same thing here on this side. And I'm going to get close down to that corner. And I'm going to get close down to this corner. And then I'm going to come in here to my center. I can tell that's where my center is, so I'm going to cut it down also all the way to that center. Now I'll go in and see if these will fold in. Okay, that one did real well. And that one did real well. And I'm making sure to push that one up and in. Okay, those look good. So let's glue them on. I hope I haven't made a complete mess of this. I hope I haven't made so much confusion that you're saying, what? Seem to be quiet today. Concentrating. Trying to make this work out. It'll be all right. After all, like I said before, it is just paper. Okay, and there we go. Now we have our double pocket to sew into the signature, a pocket here and a pocket here, and it'll sew into the signature in the center. And see, that looks a lot nicer with those edges folded over like that. You can still see the inside of the envelope, but it's not as noticeable. So probably what I'll do is I will, I think Tina was using craft envelopes, so she didn't have to worry about it. But I used W9 envelopes or W2 envelopes. So, yeah. But now this also is going to be a little bit over 11. So I won't want to put it right in the middle of my signature because it will stick out a little farther than the pages. But if I put it back in the middle of the signature, it'll kind of blend in with the pages, and because the other pages will be bowing out a little bit. So yep, that should work. All right, thank you guys. That's what I have for today, and we have some pockets ready to be sewn into journal pages, journal signatures. So all right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a happy day, and I hope you can find some time to craft. See you next time.